Hi, I'm Gillian Scanlon. I've been a Marquette intern since September 2015, and today I will be talking to you about collegiate springboard diving, specifically women's. So, first off, I wanted to ask you, how do we get from here, when you're about 5 years old, to here when you're in college? So that would be an example of a dive for women's. First off, let's dive right in. What we're going to be graded on is going to be the takeoff, which would be your hurdle step, then down the board. Then you're going to have the flight phase, which is when you're going to be doing all your rotations, entering positions, and finally your entry phase, which is when you enter the water, and you should ideally be about 90 degrees, so there's less splash. So diving positions. These are various diving positions that you can have. These are incorporated with how you take off from the diving board. So if you take off facing forward or backwards is part of it, and then which way you turn when you jump off the board. So common injuries that occur would be shoulder use or overuse and rotator cuff injuries. This is from hitting the water. There's a lot of forces, and then also rotating your body in and out. You guys saw the video. It's very complex, and it's also very short. So lower back injuries, that's from flexion and extension in addition to rotation of your trunk. Neck strains, and then fractures if you were unfortunate and hit the diving board. So that can be solved using kinesthetic awareness. So this is where your body is when you're moving in space. Other focuses would be hip mobility, specifically, so the 90-90 stretch would be a good thing to include in our plan. Shoulder and knee stability. When you're taking off, you want to make sure you don't have any knee injuries on the diving board. And then other important movements would be trunk extension, or triple extension, trunk and flexion, extension, and rotation. And then important muscle groups would be quadriceps, glutes, abdominals, and lower back muscles. So these are the main muscles that you'll see on divers that are very defined if you look at them. So entering into my preseason plan. Our main focus would be sport-specific power and strength. You want things to be very incorporated with these flexion and extension of your trunk, and then also very fast movements. They need to be full of power, so that is why I included like the power clean, for example. You're going to increase your intensity over the period of time, and then decrease your volume in order to focus on the speed and power. 3 sessions a week, because they don't have a lot of practice, so but they're increasing the practice. So I want to make sure that they're still getting all of the strength sessions in that they need. Next, we're going to do in-season. So our focus is maintaining strength and mobility, peaking, and then of course our goal is to win. We should always keep that in mind. We're preparing our athletes so that they can win when they enter the NCAA tournament in March. In season it was about 22 weeks, so I want them to have small peaks within when they have important competitions, but our main goal is maintenance. So we're going to increase intensity, specifically when we're peaking, while we decrease volume or maintain it. And then 2 sessions a week, because they're going to have a lot of practice, and I want to make sure movements are going to reuse movements that they use in practice, but I don't want to load them super heavy because I don't want them to get more overuse issues, for example, in their shoulder or back. Off-season, our goals is going to be general fitness, so it's not a lot of hypertrophy. They don't need to be very buff, because when they enter the water you don't want a lot of splash. It's a really important part of grading in the dive. So we're going to focus more on mobility, stability, kinesthetic awareness, and just strength in general. We're going to increase intensity and increase volume, and the sessions will be about 4 days a week. So this is my annual plan, and as you can see, overall the intensity has us peaking in March for the NCAA tournament, and then volume is decreasing. So this is end season right here, and here is our NCAA tournament. And then also we're going to have testing in the beginning of preseason. So this would be like 1RMs because my plan is mostly based off of those. So I need to know where my athletes are at in order to train them correctly. And then I'm going to do vertical jump tests because that's a big part of takeoff from the board. And here is where we're hopefully ending up with winning the NCAA tournament at the end. So my name is Gillian Scanlon again, and you can email me at gillian.scanlon@marquette.edu. Any questions?
One I had before, you were talking about trunk mobility or trunk flexion and extension. Were you focusing more on like mobility or strengthening, or kind of like a mix of both?
Certainly a mix of both. First, we want to strengthen, but we also want to make sure they're mobile with that. So what I would do is like a lot of just overhead slams. We did a lot of like pike ups for using
that in your
bars and stuff. Yeah.
You said like kinetic awareness, like being able to control your body in the air and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So is that not like something that they would do like at the swim practice? Like is that something that they would emphasize at swim practice, or is that something that you would emphasize like in the weight room?
Certainly they do both.
And if you do emphasize it in the weight room, like how would you do that?
Yes. So in practice, I know they use a lot of trampolines so that they can work on that and knowing where their body is at. But I also think it's important to do it in the weight room when you're working more on like prevention of injury and also specific phases of the jump or like the dive. So for example, I did a blind box jump, so they would have their eyes closed, and then instead of just dropping off the box, they would drop off the box and someone would have put a different height box under that so that they could adjust and be prepared to stop without knowing when they're going to hit the floor. And then also like RDLs, just like single leg balance things to help with kinesthetic awareness as well.
You mentioned shoulder injuries being common. What did you like specifically do to prevent that?
I did like Wolverine pull downs, a lot of resistance bands, strengthening using like bench press, stuff like that. Other questions?